Oh, nope, got the bubble. Let's forget the bubble. All right, what is up, everyone? Good to see you. Hey, good to see you, Tasu Leach. What up? Welcome. Welcome to another Monday night of Star Warsing. There are no other voices besides mine right now. Excuse me, in the cold open. We are here to talk some Into the Dark. We're going to celebrate some High Republic goodness with the full squad. We're going to do a little itty bit of news. It's going to be fun. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everyone else is here. It's a little too hot in my apartment, but it's time for Wes to punch it. Welcome into the living force. I am one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson. Very excited to be talking some Star Wars on another Monday evening. And joining me tonight to celebrate all things the High Republic Into the Dark are the doctors. First, we have Dr. Corey Hilton. What's up, buddy?
I'm good, man. Good to see you guys, as always. I'm excited to talk about this one. I blew through an incredible rate of speed, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. Look forward to that story in just a hot second, because getting Corey into this roundtable was a joy of my life. But the truest joy of my life is none other than Dr. Charles Hankel. Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I enjoyed the episode last week with Jared. Jared, my seat is still warm, and that's a little bit weird. But in all seriousness, I do think we might have to reschedule this, because I think the Bachelor finale is on tonight, and I'd rather be there.
Yeah. We know Jared is.
Well, speaking of the final Bachelor, Wes Jenkins is also here.
Hello.
Hey.
Good to see everyone. This was my by the fireside read in the cold and also in record time. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it, because I finished it.
That's right, everyone. This is an historic roundtable. If you're new to the Utini roundtables, everyone has finished the book on time, knows everything. We were talking about it. A quick hello to some folks in the chat that are joining us. Keep those comments going all show. We'll shout out some good ones if we do. Meg, thank you for taking attendance, asking if everyone read the book. Ooh, already though, Maggie wants to know, Wes, your skin is luminous. Drop the skincare routine. What do you do? Is it a ring light? Is that your skincare routine?
I don't have a. Yeah, I have a ring light. Everything I have is Elgato. So.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
It does sound like a makeup brand.
There ain't no way.
You're like straight up glowing, dude. Look at your shirt. That looks sick.
oh my goodness. Well, I'm just going to keep staring at Wes the whole time, but I'm happy to say you all, tonight we are going to go into part one of our two-part roundtable on Into the Dark. If you're new to Utini roundtables, we're going to talk tonight a little about the characters in the book and maybe get into a couple themes and plot points. We will be getting into spoiler territory once we start, but if you haven't read the book, hang out for the first bit, because we're going to talk a little bit of Star Wars news. First thing is, of course, a plug, because we're nothing if not self-serving. Self-serving, absolutely. Corey, you, this last couple months, my dude, have been a lot on the Utini website, and you created yet another brand new thing that is live right now for people to witness. What do we got?
I do have some new stuff, as always. We've been working on the website, trying to do some cool stuff. We have a new events page on the website. This is really cool. Wes, you can go ahead and throw up that screen share if you want. We have an event calendar on the website now. Utini.com/events will show you all the stuff that's happening at Utini. Nowadays, every single week, we're keeping this thing nice and updated, and it looks pretty sick. I'm pretty pleased with it. Like we're gonna have all our podcasts, all our live shows and stuff on here. Conja Book Club will have their sort of reading schedule, what books are coming out. So if you've been trying to keep up with the stuff that's been happening at Utini, check it out. Utini.com/events for sure.
Yeah, we realized that with the amount of stuff that's happening on a weekly basis, there are still some folks that go to the site that don't know we have this live show, that don't know we have certain things happening in Discord on YouTube. So head over to that event calendar. Everything is going to be there that we do, unless we forget to put it in Coda. But I'm hoping we won't. But speaking of new things coming out at Utini, we wanted to start the weekly plug of a new show that's going to be coming in a couple weeks. You may know it. You may love it already in your heart. It is the Cosmic Force. That is our upcoming live comic show. As we said a couple weeks back, this is going to be essentially the third show in our live trinity on YouTube of the Living Force, which does your mostly canon novels, that kind of stuff. We're going to have Legends Look Back, and now with that sexy logo. Oh my goodness. I have not seen this
I was going to
yet.
say, have you guys even seen this yet?
I have not seen this.
Yeah, this is the new logo that Jose put together for us. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Also, a little sneak peek at the Utini Network logo.
That's
the
gonna
Utini
Podcast Network.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
gonna be a lot
the
of fun.
radiation waves going off on the top
Yeah,
of the eye
right.
there.
That's all Jose, man. He's super talented. I love seeing the stuff he puts
Wow.
together. So this one turned out really good. I'm excited to get the show launched for sure. They're coming along too, man. I think we're doing our first like full dress rehearsals this week with cameras and overlays and all kinds of stuff. So it's exciting, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, and Corey, so we're gonna get the sneak peek. Of course, we're gonna grill the hosts. We're gonna make them feel bad and cry, as we all had to when we started our live show.
That's right. That's right. Hey, first off, I'm gonna need you to back up from the camera because something about your face is just not speaking to me. Like, yeah, pretty much sums up Eric's entire first half of video on the Living Force.
My God. But once we have all the notes in, Corey, when are people finally going to be able to tune into the Cosmic Force?
So, last time I got the date wrong. It's not on April 1st. I did. It's not on April 1st. So I think I want to get it right. I think it's the second week of April. I think that's when we're officially going live with that show. So, I'm not going to give you an exact date. Somewhere in early April. How about that?
But you know where you're going to be able to find it? On the Utini events calendar.
That is correct.
And we'll eventually actually know the date. But a lot of great stuff coming up for all you comics fans. Absolutely can't wait for that show. All right, now moving over to, hold on. I didn't put this in Coda, but I remembered it in my brain. I want all of you to join me in wishing our Alliance High Command member and my mom, it's a happy birthday, Sally Eilerson, March 15th.
Birthday.
As of
Happy
recording,
birthday,
birthday
Sally.
Do we
tonight.
sing? Is this where we sing?
We
Happy
don't.
birthday. Oh.
We do.
Oh.
We
Oh.
might.
Oh, no.
To you.
Here you go.
There
How
we
about
go.
this? How about this?
That's
works.
great.
There you go.
Mom, I love you. I hope you're having a great day. I'm very excited. I have not seen her since COVID started.
Wow.
So this is,
That's
yeah.
crazy, dude.
And
Well, at
Soon,
least, no, we
man.
saw each other we met in a park, like masked in a park.
Okay. Counts.
I got my first dose. I'm set.
That's far
so once I get
enough. You're far enough, Mom.
that was it. So it's been the first year of her life. I didn't hug my mom. So finishing that up. Love you. Happy birthday. All right. Now back to the business of Utini, which is our glorious patrons. We wanted to welcome Will Jacobs, who joined us this week as a monthly patron. Thank you so much, Will. We hope you're enjoying some of the stuff we've already put on the old Patreon this week, including there was a Ghost Crew episode. There was a Star Wars Archives episode. I hope you feel good about that. I just hope that you don't regret what you've done. And if you have, it's only a month. Who's to say? But better than that, Charles, you're back. So, wait, are you reading a patron of the week? Corey, do we have a video this week?
Don't have a video, but we do have a patron of the week this week.
Good. Charles,
Okay.
you got to get back to work. Your vacation is over.
I was born for this. All right. Patron of the week this week is Scott Bupp. And he says, hello.
Hold on.
All right, we're gonna get the audio, but
Wow.
all right, start that over, Charles. Sorry.
All right.
It was
all right.
a dry run. You all didn't want to hear that one anyway. There was
It
was
was
bad.
bad. I
It was
stumbled
not
over
great.
the name. So, all right.
all right.
Patron of the week this week is still Scott Bupp. And he says, hello, my name is Scott Bupp. fitting.
Yes.
I am originally from New Mexico, but currently call Sao Paulo, Brazil home. I'm not entirely sure when I first saw the original trilogy, but I know at some point prior to the prequel's release, I watched the VHS tapes my family had. I've always enjoyed Star Wars, but my true love for it came during college when I watched all of the Clone Wars animated series for the first time. The show was the first time I realized how vast the Star Wars universe can be. The show led me to pick up my first couple of books, the A New Hope novelization and Dark Disciple. From there, I was hooked on all things Star Wars. My favorite film is Revenge of the Sith. I cannot watch Order 66 without shedding a tear. Plus, as a kid, I loved how many different types of non-human species Rots had. My favorite Star Wars literature has to be the Ahsoka book. Ahsoka became my favorite character in Star Wars as I watched the Clone Wars, and after the season 5 finale, I needed to know what happened to her. Ahsoka was the first Star Wars novel I pre-ordered and one of the fastest I've read. Thus, it will always hold a special place in my love for Star Wars. I came across Utini about this time last year. We had just started quarantine when I stumbled across the Utini timeline. From there, I started listening to The Living Force and joined Patreon when the Conjure Book Club launched.
Nice.
So shout out to Timothy, Adam, and Patrick.
Nice.
I came to Patreon for the Conjure Book Club and stayed for all of the great content. I don't have many friends who go beyond the movies and TV shows, so I love that Utini is a place that I can discuss books and comics. So thank you to all of the Utini team for being great. My question for the hosts: if you were to start your pursuit of galactic conquest and domination, what planet would you want to be the first to fall under your mighty hand?
Mighty hand.
That's phenomenal.
Wow.
Wow.
So first of all, shout out to Scott Bupp. You're a wonderful patron of the week. This was great. I think it's awesome that you are one of our international listeners from Brazil, and or living in Brazil at least. And now let's get to answering his awesome question.
Planet
Corey, why
would
do
we
I feel like
want?
you already know your answer, Corey?
Oh man, Charles, I am nothing if not predictable. You know, I'm a classic guy. I think you got to go right for the throat, right for the throat. You got to go like right where they don't expect you to go. You got to cross the line just right immediately with that power. You know, that the Death Star. You know, if you're gonna destroy a world, you got to blow up Alderaan, man. Like, it's peaceful, it's civilized, they have wealth. You know, if Alderaan can go, then anybody can go.
Also, for the record, Scott definitely said, "What planet would you want to fall under your hand?" Said nothing about destroying the world.
Like you conquer
That's
it.
all
You don't
Corey.
destroy
That's all you.
All right, okay. Back up a little bit. All right, first I'm gonna blow up Alderaan. All right,
great. Yep,
and
yep.
then I'm gonna go straight to Coruscant because no one's gonna even argue with me after that. So there we go.
So destroy Park Place right on to Broadway. All right. All
I saw
right.
Corey killing younglings. That's how I just felt about that.
Wow.
And,
That was
your
a-
answer is
Whoa.
not strategic whatsoever. Alderaan offers you nothing other than a bunch of peaceful people who won't fight for you or fight back.
Yeah.
I'm taking Mon Cala, okay, because they build all of the ships. I'm gonna take over. They're great military minds like Akbar. They build amazing cruisers that I can use as the front of my fleet moving forward as I conquer the rest of the galaxy.
That's real quick for all our audio listeners. We blew past Charles. You did a perfect like physical visual of Obi-Wan and Revenge of the Sith when he says that. Like, you had like the hand thing. I want to throw that out. And Jason Mitchell says in the chat, Alderaan must have a bunch of movie theaters if Corey feels so deeply about blowing it up.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go with you, Charles, and go strategic here. I want to conquer Eriadu, and I want to get like Tarkin's people who are like the hunters, and like if I conquer this planet and I prove my strength, right, and I take them down, then they join me as respecting my power and like lead my military. It's done. Game over.
See, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing. Corey, you're on the outs because I'm gonna conquer Corellia, and I'm gonna get those ships, and I'm gonna get that
And
battle
great
fleet.
pilots.
Yeah, it's while Corey's killing people, we're actually bringing them in and building an army.
Yeah.
A billion voices cried out, and were suddenly silenced.
Jeez, the eyes. It's the eyes that does it.
The eyes.
Meg must have the band hammer going again. That's
Yeah. Spice then our glorious Jacob over in the chat mentions Shutoran, which is from a couple arcs ago in the Star Wars mainline comic. A nice plug for the Cosmic Force. Maybe we'll talk about that. A great strategic option as well. Awesome. So Scott, thank you for the question. Always, like, these are some of my favorite things we do because we can't really prep for them because I don't read the notes. But I'm really glad that you are enjoying yourself in Utini. And again, if you are a patron of Utini, keep your eyes open. You may be our next patron of the week. All right. Time for a vastly abbreviated Star Wars weekly roundup. Not much news this week, except for a little sad news. Remember how we were going to get that book about the Mandalorian last year? And then it was a little later last year. And then it was like a year later this year. Well, it's gone now. The Mandalorian by Adam Christopher, working title, has officially been canceled by our friends at Del Rey. They have assured us that Adam is already working on another book for them. But we don't know. Obviously, we'll never know the full details of this. It may be because certain things in season 2 took the story in different ways. It could be because due to the Gina Carano drama, they didn't want Cara Dune having a prominent feature. Who knows? But anyway, as we see on the screen right now, that is canceled on the Utini timeline. You will see it is canceled, so you won't foolishly pre-order said thing. However, there was another casualty, and that's the Mandalorian Ultimate Visual Guide that Pablo Hidalgo was working on. Also got canceled. Again, we don't know. It's all about speculation about why these things happen. Things get canceled in publishing all the time.
Yeah.
And we just happen to follow every book in Star Wars. Like, we are uniquely situated, you know?
It made me seem like, you know, I might go out of left field a little bit, see it here and say that maybe they announced that one a little too soon. Like they didn't they announce that while we were very early in the Mandalorian. I think we were under
season 1.
Yeah, it was like under 5 episodes or something like that had been released yet.
Yeah.
So and then they delayed it by a huge amount, and then I don't know. It was sort of a rocky start from the beginning. So sad to see that one go. But you know, here's another one for you guys. I don't think we're done with Mandalorian and books though. Like I think
no way.
I think after we get through Book of Boba Fett, and maybe they might actually conclude the show. When they conclude the show, I bet we'll actually see some content in the expanded universe, which would be pretty rad.
Yeah, it feels like when they announced like the Ultimate Visual Guide, when you hear that, it seems like it should be all encompassing. I don't think they knew that it was going to be so successful that they would get like season 2, season 3, maybe season 4. Like, let's wait until it's done and then do an ultimate guide.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a season 1 guide, and maybe this book was supposed to be like a little more final to like, oh, let's finish the story of Mando. And now they're like, well, actually, we can make a lot more money if we make more television. And it's like,
and they've learned a lot of lessons, I think, with the sequel trilogy about doing projects at the same time. Like, it's pretty challenging. Sure. It's pretty challenging creatively to not step on everybody's toes when everybody's sort of backed into a corner with somebody else's work, right? Now that they're trying to keep everything nice and continuous with canon, so.
Yeah, so keep an eye out, though. Our friends at, again, DK Inside Editions, they're always putting out amazing reference books. We'll keep you all posted on when those get re-released. Only one other thing for news this week, honestly. I wanted to mention a couple comics. One, Star Wars number 12 came out this week that Charles Soule wrote. It was a really cute story between Kes Dameron and Princess Leia, where they talked about Shara Bay and Han in like a little bit of a love story way. Charles Soule talked about it as kind of like a issue between the last big arc and then the upcoming Bounty Hunter Wars massive event. But an image came out today from an upcoming High Republic novel. Can we throw that up on the screen real quick? This is a variant cover or a full cover to High Republic number 6. This is Avar Chris just riding a Rancor.
It's just maybe the coolest image I've ever seen in my life.
And it doesn't seem like a tamed Rancor either.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It's enormous. Look at the size of the thing.
Well, and it's crazy because like this, I mean, I don't know about you guys. This makes me think like this is so Legends. This is Bane. This is KOTOR. Like,
yes. Do you remember?
So love for that.
Do you remember very early on in KOTOR, you have to kill the Rancor, and like it's like in the sewers on Terrace. You have to kill the Rancor.
You put the bombs in the food.
Yes, I've played that game like 10 times. You heard me talk about it endlessly. Every single time I have to look up how to kill the Rancor. I can never freaking remember because it's like so particular. You have to like put the scent on your body and then like go put the grenade in the stuff. It's like it's so hard. I can't even remember how to do it.
Oh my gosh! Already on this image, John Dutch Vander says he's ready to commit to a full back tattoo, and I think that's the one to do. I like that a lot. And then of course, Cheryl brings up a great point. Courtship of Princess Leia also famously has some good Rancor action, but this is just a tease. Again, if you're not on the comics yet, on the High Republic comic series, this is where it's going. So for some reason, Avar Chris, star of Light of the Jedi, is going to be riding a freaking Rancor in a visual medium. So pre-order is open now, in your local comic book stores. But of course, if you're looking to buy some books that are coming out soon, including the script book of the Dr. Aphra audio drama and Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good, both coming out April 6th and April 27th, respectively, head over to the Utini New Releases page. Get those pre-orders in. You're going to be a part of these conversations, and you'll be part of the future roundtables we do on those books. All right, because this is a roundtable episode, we are skipping the book reviews just for this week and next. They'll be back soon. Keep those reviews coming over at utini.com. But for now, let's take a look at Jose's latest awesome merch, and then we're going to talk about the High Republic Into the Dark. All right. Oh my goodness. You know what? There's a few moments in this show where we cut out and then our mics aren't live on the air, and I think it keeps us sane. I love you all, but some moments are just for us. But one moment that is not for any of us, before I throw it to Charles, we have another team member that we asked for their opinions on Into the Dark. So before we tell you what we thought, let's ask our very own Meg Dowell what she thought about Claudia Gray's latest novel.
What do rocks eat? Pomegranates. What did the rock say to the word processor? Boulder. Hello, and welcome to the only room in my house that doesn't have any books in it. Oh, okay. One book. Math. So let's see, what did Eric want me to talk about? Express your thoughts on the book. It's good. How it felt to get your review on the what? My review on the what? Oh my god! My words are on a Star Wars? Oh my god, my words are on a Star Wars. Come on, put my words right on there! On the thing! No, my words are there! Look at it! Ow! Who did this? This actually came as a total surprise to me. I don't actually know how it happened. Like the actual putting of the words on the thing. It's called a dust jacket. I don't know who's in charge of what goes on the back of these, but I might love you. You rock. If I remember right, this book hit pretty high in the 9s for me, and that has nothing to do with my blurb review thing, or the fact that Claudia Gray has yet to disappoint me. Everything from the plot to the characters to the writing just screams really good Star Wars story. But as with every Claudia Gray Star Wars, it's really the characters that do it for me. Like in our world, Orla's parents would have expected her to study to become a doctor, and she would have done that. Becoming part of the Jedi Order was the only plan she'd ever known. So when she started to question whether or not that was the path she wanted to take, it kind of triggered this existential crisis for her, which who hasn't experienced that within the last year alone? And Wraith Silas is all of us in that one high school class where you could choose between doing a creative big group project or writing a paper in the library by yourself. He'd always choose the library. Same. He doesn't want to go to the frontier. He wants to chill in the archives. Same. And Geode, definitely the most lively Star Wars character there's ever been. And the most talkative, even more than 3PO. Does he ever shut up? After a while, you just start to tune him out because it's on and on and on about the latest Rolling Stone article. Like, bro, I don't care. Hashtag Geode Rocks. This book is overall the perfect introduction into some of the darker things we're gonna see in the High Republic later on. Wait. Is that why it's called Into the Dark? Wow. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this book, you can head over to utini.com and read my written review. The Claudia Gray Stan Club is active and always accepting new members. I hope you enjoy the book, and may the courts be with you. Back to you, boys. Oh, jeez. I'm never gonna get asked to do anything for this company ever again.
Oh my
Holy
god.
smokes.
Although I don't know, we might get our YouTube channel canceled for all that vulgarity rock reproduction that was happening throughout.
Oh my gosh, just his whole, they're budding. Geode's whole
Oh
family.
my god,
Thanks,
Meg,
neighbors.
I love
Probably
you.
watched her go get all of these rocks from like outside in the yard by the mailbox and carry them into the house one by one.
Oh man, that was
Meg, you're
phenomenal.
amazing.
She's
And-
doing it again. She's bringing in another one.
So real quick, if you did miss it in the video, if you own Into the Dark, on the back, the second quote of the dust jacket is from Dork Side of the Force, which is Meg Dowell writing. She says, quote, "In the books she has released so far, it's clear she knows exactly the kind of content that will get Star Wars fans excited to keep turning pages. Whatever's next for this author, it's going to be worth the wait. She doesn't have to one-up her latest masterpiece. She just has to keep creating more. That's all we ask." So Meg, awesome having your words on Into the Dark. Thank you for teaching us all about rock reproduction. Charles, back to work. Let's do it.
All right. It is roundtable time. So let's do this. We're going to kick it off with a plot overview. Yes.
Thank
The
you.
air horns. So we're gonna kick it off with a plot overview. Admittedly, this was very hard to make concise, and so I compromised and did not make it concise whatsoever. But here we go. All right. So Reith Silas loves his studies on Coruscant dearly, which is why it comes as a shock when he's informed by his master Jorah Malley that they will be transferring to the Starlight Beacon on the edge of known space. Reith meets up with a group of other Jedi to travel to Starlight, including Des Ryden, Master Malley's first Padawan, Orla Jareni, a Jedi Wayseeker, and Comac Vitus, a Jedi Scholar. Together, they board the vessel, a small transport ship from the Bind Guild's fleet, captained by Leox Gyasi, sure, and his crew. The young
What did you call me?
The young Appy Hollow and Geode, a Vintian navigator. On the way to Starlight, the great disaster occurs, forcing all ships from hyperspace, and the vessel finds itself stranded in a remote area of space with a handful of other ships. But nearby, there appears to be some sort of space station. The ships work together to board the station, which they find is some sort of space terrarium, if you will, filled with plant life. However, the Jedi can sense an ominous presence as well, which they believe to be emanating from a set of idols found at the heart of the station. The crews of the other ships that board the station turn out to be pirates and other ne'er-do-wells, except for a young girl named Nan and her caretaker, Haig, whose derelict ship barely makes it to the station. Amongst the chaos of the new arrivals, Affy, Reith, and the rest of the team set off to explore. Affy discovers messages written on storage lockers of the station, messages that imply not only that the Bind Guild has been there before, but that her parents may have been as well. Together, Orla and Comac manage to break the force bind on the mysterious idols, but the experience drags up bad memories from a shared mission in their past. Elsewhere, while exploring the station, Des Ryden disappears behind a door housing helix rings, power sources used to launch ships into hyperspace. He is presumed dead. Despite their losses, the Jedi receive word from Chancellor So that the hyperspace lanes are being carefully reopened, so they board the vessel along with the idols and leave for Coruscant. Nan and Haig remain behind to fix up their ship. Upon their return to Coruscant, Orla and Comac lead a team to purge the idols of their dark side energy, only there doesn't appear to be any. Suddenly, the Jedi realize the energy must have been coming from something else aboard the station, and that removing the idols likely set that something free. Orla and Comac decide they must return at all costs. After a meeting with the Jedi Council regarding the untimely death of Master Jorah Malley, During the events of the Great Disaster and the subsequent struggle with the Nile, Reeth is told he must decide whether he will remain on Coruscant or return to Starlight Beacon with a new master. During that discussion, he also becomes privy to new information that implies Nan is not as innocent as she previously seemed, but is rather a member of the group known as the Nile. He vows also to return to the Amaxine station and learn more about Nan while possibly taking her into custody. Luckily for the Jedi, the crew of the vessel also planned to return to further investigate Affy's findings. So together, they all fly back, only to find that a Nile warship has appeared. The Jedi managed to sneak back aboard the station and find that the plants have overrun the station, taking on a more corporeal form with sinister designs. These plants identify themselves as the Drengir. As Reeth further investigates the helix rings that took Dez's life, he accidentally reactivates them. Rather than incinerating him, they propel a small escape pod to a new location where it crash lands. And once leaving the pod, he's confronted by more Drengir who have imprisoned Dez Ryden and poisoned his body and mind. They prompt Dez to attack Reeth, and the two square off. Ultimately, Reeth is able to get through to Dez and return to the Amaxine station unharmed. The Nile noticed the return of the Jedi and also board the station, leading to a massive three-sided battle, including the Jedi, the Drengir, and the Nile. Ultimately, the Jedi prevail and the heroes escape, leaving the Drengir trapped once again behind. Back on Coruscant, Affy confronts Scover Bine about the fate of her parents. Bine denies any wrongdoing, which leads Affy to turning her into Coruscant authorities. The Bine Guild is dissolved due to their illegal use of indentured servants. The vessel is passed into the possession of Leox as the captain, but he, in turn, turns it over to Affy. Reeth requests that Comac become his new master, and Comac accepts. The pair plan to travel the galaxy together, respecting one of Jorah Malley's last wishes. Cut to Nan approaching none other than Markian Ro, the undisputed leader of the Nile. Ro once again declares that the end of the Jedi is nigh. The end. Note, I have not rehashed the entire old mission with Orlak and Comac's past as Padawans, but we're going to skip over that for now. So there's your recap. Only took about 5 minutes.
That was incredible. That was thorough as hell.
You should do this.
You reminded me about a lot of the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
Well, that's good. Now that you know what happened in this book, can you rate it from a 1 to 10? Don't say why just yet. We're going to come back around to that at the end. Wes, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I start off with an 8.6.
All right. All right.
And
Eric
and Corey.
I will go with a 7.4.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
I
Corey?
thought I was going to be the lowest score on here. I was actually going to say 7.5, and I have a very specific reason for rating it pretty low. And we'll talk about that.
Cool.
Okay. All right. And my score is an 8.0. So
Nice.
Sweet.
we're not all that
Varied.
far apart from each other, but
That's super.
yeah.
Good
Do you
enough.
want me to show I can show the official review if you want me to.
Yeah.
It's got a official Utini rated at 8.9, so much higher than all of us. That's very interesting. A lot of people look at these books on our team. How big is our review team, Eric? Like 5, 10 people,
it's
something like that?
10, 8, 10. Well, and yeah,
It's pretty
and
large.
sometimes some people that don't like things as much don't get their review scores in on time, and then sometimes it's different.
That's right.
But yeah,
That's
we've had pretty decent 8 to 10 people.
It's got an 8 for plot, 8.8 for characters, 9.3 for writing, 9.3 for entertainment, 9.3 for originality. So, pretty well-rounded book. Almost 9.
Look at that thirst trap you did right there with Nathan's face.
You know what, guys?
That's the wrong video review.
Let's just. Oh, it is the wrong video review. I must have been using this page for testing. That's probably why. But anyway, there it is.
There's
That's that.
Nathan. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Nathan.
There it is.
Well, beautiful. So we rated things a little bit lower, but maybe we'll change our minds by the time we get to the end of this second part of the roundtable, and we can talk about how we're going to rate things at that point in time. But let's kick this off, y'all. We got to talk about characters, and we're going to start with Reeth Silas himself. And Reeth, I think, is interesting because he's a very different kind of Jedi than what we're probably used to seeing. I presume he would get along very well with Jocasta Nu. He was more into books than battles, is how I like to put it, more into learning than lightsabers. And while we may be more accustomed to Jedi like Dez or Anakin, did Reeth resonate with you? Did his character being that different type of Jedi, did that idea resonate with you?
Nerd.
I liked it. Yeah, he's a nerd. I liked it. I will admit, I liked him more after we had our talk with Claudia Gray. Subtle flex on the YouTube channel and the podcast feed. But when she said that when she was writing it, she thought of him as Tom Holland.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like,
I forgot
oh,
about
yes.
that. Dang it. That would have changed my view of the book.
Yeah, it totally then clicked in. I liked the idea of him. I think the execution was a little tough because for me in the beginning of the book, his hesitancy to go on adventure as the protagonist was like, then do I as the reader have a hesitancy to go further? Which was interesting. But I did like the idea though, that we have like, of course we have a Jedi that wants to be more of a scholar. Like, of course we do. There's hundreds of Jedi at this point.
Yeah.
So there's no way that all like they're only supposed to use their lightsabers in case of emergency anyway. So I like that she also kept him very competent in that. Like he was a very good swordsman. He just didn't want to do it. And I like that part of him.
Yeah, I totally back that up. Like, I can't remember when we talked about this, but there was a long time ago when we talked about the Jedi Order and different sects that are in the Jedi Order and stuff. And there are like multiple Jedi councils and all kinds of stuff. Like if you read the old legends, Wikipedia stuff, I bet Trevor can tell us a lot of interesting stuff about the Jedi. But there's like lots of different types of Jedi that we have virtually unexplored in comics and books and stuff. So, you know, I like seeing it. I'm with you though, Eric. I found him I was a little hesitant to totally fall in love with him as a character early on because like, I think it was pretty predictable that he was going to be an adventure type character, and he definitely didn't start there. So I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, Mort is doing crazy stuff behind me.
I see. What the hell is he doing back there?
He's itching his face.
Eric has a corgi for our non-video listeners, and he's like going crazy on his face back there.
There he is.
Scary demon eyes with the reflection. Ray does that too.
Attributed Wreath to like a lightweight MMA fighter. So
Sure.
What?
So like
Do tell.
so they look just like you and me, but they can kick ass and you don't know it. They do all the things
That's great.
that you and I do, but you don't want to get in a fight with these guys because you have no idea about their skill set. Freddie
MMA
knows all
fighters,
about
they're
that.
just like us.
Okay.
Oh man.
That's not where I thought that was going, but
Of course.
we do
Well,
have
I'm
a
here.
couple quotes about Wreath from his master, who may have known him better than anyone, Jorah Malley. She doesn't mention MMA fighting, but what she does say is on page 2, his strength in the Force isn't remarkable, not among the Jedi, but Wreath works harder than almost any Padawan I've ever known. And then on page 7, she says to Wreath, you prefer to concentrate on those areas where you believe effort counts more than talent, but you have more than enough talent for anything you set your mind to, and effort always counts for any task in any place. And so I do find that makes Wreath probably more relatable because probably most of us reading these books, we don't think we are the best at everything. We don't think we would be like
Hey,
the
speak for
pinnacle
yourself.
of a Jedi.
Corey, yeah.
Okay. I feel that way. And so I found myself relating to Wreath in that he's just a dude who tries really hard. And he is a good Jedi for that reason. It's not that he's the most talented. He is not the chosen one, but he tries hard, and that matters.
Chosen one.
Yeah, and you know what also like that passage and a lot of the stuff about Wreath honestly made me think more that Jorah Malley was just like a really freaking good Jedi master. Like all of her lessons to Wreath were really excellent, and it made me like I think the publishing order obviously chronologically is very smart to do Light of the Jedi and then this, but to meet Jorah and have that time and experience her lost in Light of the Jedi, then to come back here and like see how good of a teacher she was, like retroactively made that hurt more. And I think that was seen through Wreath's eyes very well.
Yeah.
Made me sad.
You know, so I think it could probably be argued that what Wreath wanted for himself was more time on Coruscant and more time to study and understand the Force. What his master, what Jorah wanted for him was to have the opportunity to go out and live and help more people, I think, directly than he would have had the opportunity to do on Coruscant. Is one of those more admirable than the other? Was there a right decision in there?
It's like a gap year. It's like, hey man, listen, you want to study? I get it.
Oh, gap year. That's funny. Man, Wreath really makes me want a young Jocasta news story. Like, I want to know
kind of what it is.
I mean,
yeah.
a little bit,
Took us
yeah,
to
but you know,
super new.
I will say that
super new.
what the hell?
I'm sorry.
When would
I'm
that
sorry.
take place? Like 400 years before?
Yeah,
right.
My God.
Oh my God, that
That's
is
mean.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, but that's a good point though, and I think there's obviously like I think Claudia Gray definitely does a good job balancing the both of them. Like clearly Reith needed this for his development. Like he needed to get out. Jordan knew that, but I don't think that she ever says in the book like, you know, he was being foolish by studying all the time. Like he should have gotten out. He was a bookworm. Like that's still very valid.
Mhm.
And I think like anything with Jedi, she just really makes it important that there's balance.
Yeah.
You know, you need to make sure you have a balanced life. You need to make sure you have balance
Yeah.
in all aspects of the Force. So why not your training?
Yeah, she really hammered it home about how he did not want to leave Coruscant, and there was a lot in the beginning where he was just like, "Yeah, but I could still be here on Coruscant doing this," and I know I could go out and it could be risky, but I could be safe here on Coruscant doing this. Like she really let us know that that was where he thought that he wanted to go with his studies, but eventually, like the growth that as a Padawan that he learned that helped out a lot.
Dude, this is just me talking to my boss about why I should work from home permanently. I'm like, I'm safe here. I'm productive. Why did I need to go in the office?
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. There's Drankier in the office. It was bad.
So a lot of what y'all are saying, a lot of Reith's story, I think when you get to the core of it is what does it mean to be a quote unquote good Jedi? What does that mean? He constantly wonders why he isn't more like Dez or his master Jorah. But what does it truly mean to be a good Jedi? And is there a lesson in that Reith chose what his master wanted for him? What do we take away from that? Like, it's almost implied when the protagonist makes that final decision that it was, in fact, the right one. But was it that he was choosing to live like Jorah or more like Dez, or was it that he was choosing not to be comfortable, choosing to push his boundaries, whatever those might be?
I think he may have been choosing to apply what he's learned, right? So he can read all about, you know, the battles and in Jedi meditation, but how is he going to apply that? So being in those uncomfortable situations, like you said, helps him to apply his learning, or else you just, you know, you're reading stories, man. Get out there and be productive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Do
think
you
that's
remember
all.
when the Drengir took over the Maxine station? Pepperidge Farm, remember?
That's the secret hero of this book. But I think that's a great like balance in all of Star Wars, right? That's the battle with Jedi. Like Yoda sits on Dagobah for 30 years or 18 years in exile and like listens and stuff, but he's not out helping. He's not saving lives, but he's also learning. And then Luke leaves early to go act, so he should have kept his training. But in leaving, does he save Leia? So like, you know, it's always that idea. You can always learn more. You can always wait longer, probably, but at some point, like you're saying, Wes, you got to do the thing. You got to go help people. And I think the High Republic, honestly, as a whole, is really saying the Jedi help people first. That's their primary goal. So Reith kind of has to go ahead and hit the road there.
Jack, and don't you go.
That's right.
No. Okay. Go ahead.
No. I got you.
All right. Well, let's move on from Reith and talk about his counterpart, Affie Hollow. And just to remind everyone, Affie, she's the young, up-and-coming member of the Bind Guild. She's a crew member aboard the vessel. And really, a lot of her story revolves around the death of her parents and her relationship with Scover Bind, who was the leader of the Bind Guild and served essentially as her mother figure. And, you know, ultimately, Affie is betrayed by Scover, and we learned that the guild that Scover runs was basically operating by using indentured servants, including Affie's parents. And, you know, we've talked a lot about slavery in Star Wars. This might be the first time that we've encountered indentured servitude. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on this topic. Or Eric, you look like you maybe are remembering another instance?
No, I think because I think the indentured servitude thing I think is referenced like by the Hutts. I think I'm trying to remember if that was like the Paradise Snare. If any of the pilgrims in Elysia were kind of semi-indentured servants. But regardless, my official stance on indentured servitude, Charles, is that it's bad. I think it's a bad thing.
I'm glad you laid that out.
Yeah, all right.
We were all a little iffy with you.
We'll start there. But I do think it's interesting. You know, we've had the dead parents story before. We've had the, Anakin was a slave. We've had similar stories before. But there was an interesting part about finding out that your parents were kind of a lower tier to something that you're trying to inherit. Like, she is kind of trying to inherit the whole guild. Like, she could have been a Zori Bliss trying to take over the Spice Runners, but instead she's trying to secretly take over a thing that actually put her parents down in this subjugated realm. So I think, like, the emotional gymnastics Affy had to go through, especially in the last third of the book, I'd say, were pretty unique.
Yeah, her sleuthing skills were something to be admired there. Because if I would look at I was like, this looks like some notches on the wall there, and some hieroglyphs that I'm not even gonna think
real
about.
Bad at tic-tac-toe. Yes.
Yeah,
Those hieroglyphs. You got someone else there hieroglyphs.
there's good that there was there's problem solving in there. So Claudia Gray put that into the book for you to think as well before she actually gave the answer, right? You're just like, what is that about?
Sure. I think that the character of Affy kind of serves as a surrogate for the reader as well. Not that we've all had this experience where we find this horrible history out about our parents, but she's surrounded by all the superpowered Jedi and evil plants and maybe talking moving rocks, but she's just a normal person that's really trying to make her way in the universe. And I'm curious, did Affy's perspective help to keep you grounded throughout this story that's filled with so much that's just entirely unrelatable?
I thought so. Claudia Gray is really good at writing young characters too. Maybe particularly young women also. Like, she's really good at creating really relatable characters. And I will say, so I blew through this book in like a really rapid time.
Yeah, tell that story real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So last week, you guys know I've been really busy building the website and doing all this stuff kind of behind the scenes that it isn't really directly related to the show, so it doesn't really get a lot of credit here, I suppose. But I've been really busy with other Utini stuff lately, and I've been really putting off reading this book. And I tried to start it multiple times. I got through the first 2 chapters and would just put it down and just never get back around to reading it. I messaged Eric last week and I was like, I don't think I'm going to have this book read in time. And Eric gave me the talk.
It was like very much like Dad saying, like, Corey, so, okay, you've had 2 months, but okay,
oh
is this a pattern? It was very much like, is this a pattern?
Yes.
That we need to I laid it
It
all out in
was
that
phenomenal. Eric gave me a talking to, and I was like, damn it, you're right. Like, I was kind of a jerk about it. Anyway, so I'm like, fine, you want to read this book? I'll sit down and read the damn book. So
it was like a teenager being like, fine,
it was like 3 p.m., like Thursday of last week. And I sat down at 3 p.m. and I didn't put it down until 12:45 a.m. and I finished it in one sitting. So it was
Nuts.
the most, yeah. So I don't know. I can't remember what I posted in Slack. I think I said something like, I just messaged you guys at like 12:30 at night and was like, I finished the book, you assholes, or something like that.
And I was like, I'm proud of you, sweetie.
Anyway, the reason I bring that up is I blew through it so utterly fast that, like, it was very challenging for me to get a lot of the characters right. And it took me a long time to get the crew right for some reason. Affy and who's the hippie dude? What's that guy's name? Leox. Yeah, it took me a long time to get Affy and Leox like right for some reason. I don't know why. I just couldn't keep them straight in my head. So I think for like the first quarter of the book, like every time Affy would show up, I'd be like, this hippie dude is really odd. Like, why does he keep changing his? And I was just like really confused. So, you know,
Is that how you pronounce his name? Is that what they say in the audio?
Leox?
Leox?
How
what did you say, Leo?
Shit. I'm in Texas, so Louisiana's right next to me. So I was saying like Lou or like.
Lou?
Oh,
right.
that's a good point.
Slow.
Oh, that's cool.
I think I said Leo in my head, actually.
I think it's
now that I'm
Leox
thinking
in the.
I was just attributed to like Boudreaux. You know how that
Yeah,
spells
oh,
out
totally.
L-E-A-U-X. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
like Leox.
What's the
Yeah.
Louisiana of the Star Wars universe? Like, which planet is that? I'm
What's New
curious.
Orleans?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. It's like that episode of Avatar, The Last Airbender, where they go to the swamp and they like all the swamp people, and they're just like, "We's kin." I want that in Star Wars. Has that been done yet? Let's go.
almost there.
Let's go back to Dagobah and meet the natives. I want to meet the natives on Dagobah. It'd be
So,
like
to your-
swamp people.
Swamp
Dude,
people of Dagobah.
I love it.
God. Well, to your original question,
We
Charles.
just lost all of our Louisiana followers,
all
by the way.
Sorry, y'all. So for Affy kind of grounded me to an extent, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I found myself every time that we got an Affy-centric Bind Guild section of the book, like there were literally sections where like Comac flew in the air, and I'm like, let's go back to the flying people. Like I was like, I love like. I think honestly my favorite part of this book might have been the section on Coruscant where like we went and saw the council and we went and saw like the Kyber Arch, and I'm like, yeah, give me that good Jedi stuff. Which actually, no, I'll save that. Sorry, tease. But I liked her stuff, but I think it was either missing a bit of like importance for me, or the Jedi stuff was that much more interesting that I kind of found myself missing, or especially Orla, who was probably my MVP of the book, but Orla and Comac and stuff like that.
Sorry, I can't let this go. Andrew in the chat
Hold on, I'm about to
is
send it to
asking, Andrew in the chat is asking what Star Wars planet is Alabama, and I cannot let this go. We have to discuss this right now.
It's
Oh my
100%
God.
Lotho Minor. Lotho Minor is also known as the Junk
Trash
World.
planet?
The Junk World.
Wow.
Andrew is from Alabama, so we can give him some crap for it. That's phenomenal. The Junk World. Oh my God.
Lotho Minor.
I just typed into Google which planet is the garbage planet in Star Wars.
No, you know what Alabama is?
That's what you get
It's
for winning
whatever-
all those damn championships.
Yeah, who's like really good at football? No, it's Onderon. Onderon's Alabama because Saw Gerrera's there, and he's got a pickup football team. I would guarantee it.
Andrew says, Corey, tread carefully. You're from Georgia. Yeah, I know. I don't want to talk about what Georgia was. Hopefully it was Alabama. It just got blew up. So or it
you're
was
from- you're from
Alderaan. It was Alabama. Alabama did not get blown up. Hold on. Let me clarify.
No. Come on, Georgia's Tatooine. Let's go.
Tatooine. Yeah, that's probably true. South
This
Georgia
is-
is virtually Tatooine. Where I went to medical school was absolutely Tatooine.
Could be Nevada.
All right, moving on.
All right.
Sorry.
That can be
All right.
its whole own episode. The United States of Star Wars. We can do that. But all right, getting back to Affy though, she wasn't the captain of the vessel.
Right.
But do you think that she was the one in charge?
Oh yeah.
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
You know, and I honestly, I really like the sort of exploration. It was a small exploration. You might not have caught it if it wasn't super obvious to you, but I really enjoyed the small exploration of like she's from like a super rich family, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like there was a lot of sort of interesting conversations about privilege and should she do something about like her adopted mother's like super corrupt business and stuff, because she said, you know, I can just wait 10, 20 years and then I'll inherit all this and I can change it into what I want. But she decided not to do that. That was really awesome. So I found that to be a very interesting conversation that happened kind of throughout the book. Like it was an ongoing thing. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I like their relationship too. Like Leox and Affy were the two of them had really great natural banter, very like big brother. That's kind of a hippie, and the younger sister. Also, shout out to Leox. Is one of the like first blatant like confirmed on StarWars.com like asexual characters in all Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
they brought that up. Like he had like a sexy talk with her about
That
like,
was
her
super
feelings.
smooth too. That was a
It
very
was
well done
incredible.
scene. I loved that. That was very
Yeah.
good.
Didn't make it super crazy, but like again, we're always huge proponents of like all kinds of different kinds of representation in Star Wars, and it was nice to like see that naturally happen. He's like, yep, not totally my thing, but I see what you're going through. So I liked that bit. And I also just liked how he respected her youth, which, like you said, Corey, is another trait of Claudia Gray. Like, her young characters, especially her young women characters, are always not questioned for their ability to lead or their ability to do things. Like, he's like, all right, you have a good idea? Great, we'll do it. Does The Rock navigate? Great, let's do it. Like, I thought they worked well together as characters, even if their plots didn't necessarily propel me as much as the others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you bring up Leox. Let's go ahead and just talk about him. I mean, it's Matthew McConaughey.
Space McConaughey.
Space. That's amazing. These are Reese's first thoughts when he sees Leox on page 21. I wanted to bring this up. Is that man's shirt open to the waist? Is he holding out his arms to us like he wants a group hug? Does he want a group hug? Is that guy on spice? No. How much spice is that guy on? And that's just fantastic.
Amazing.
He's honestly, he's probably the most eccentric character we've seen, maybe since like Zayd Caliday. He was someone that's up there. I think it's similar in some ways to him. Was Leox a character that you found to be too out there? I think that's really the major question with him. Or did you enjoy his quirkiness?
I loved it.
He's great.
It was great.
I want to see that. I want to see that on screen. Like, I want to see him in a TV show with a huge pimp hat with a giant feather. And
honestly, just let McConaughey do it.
Yeah.
Do like a 4-episode mini. Just get him. What's he doing? He's making YouTube channels about Texas football. Like, get McConaughey, put him in Star Wars.
It looks like he'd have that pungent McConaughey BO, you know?
Oh my! You can smell the concept art. I'll be honest. Like,
that is a line I'd never expected to hear on this podcast. You can smell the concept art. Oh my god, that is funny.
Well,
yeah, and I like how we used to be like, spice is like in Legends is like medicinal and interesting, and now they're like, spice is space drugs, and he's high. Like, they're very blatant about what was going on. That was fun.
I have some quotes here from Leox, and I want to read them because he had such a strange vocabulary and speech pattern. And that's comparing it to stuff like in the prequels. All right. And it was still weird.
Yeah.
And some of his most unique quotes that I could find to pull out were these on page 34. Up with that, I cannot put. Which sounds like a Yoda quote, but it's not.
Oh, right.
Up with that, I cannot put. A man's got to have standards. And since I lack the financial wherewithal to declare my independences from the guild, my personhood must be asserted sartorially. In other words, you can take my beads from my cold, dead body.
What a line.
Man, I appreciate the southern twang you threw on there.
True Detective season 1. That's it. That's it.
On the very next page, he says, "My relationship to the metaphysical is my own to judge, little bit." Okay.
Whoa, man! I thought you were going somewhere different with that.
I hit the T very hard.
Little bit. Listen here, little bit.
Page 65. This sounds like something Corey would say. You pull the head monk or whatever in here, and we'll go through these signals together. See if we got help or need to give help or should absent ourselves post haste.
What the hell? Why would I say
Hawks like this?
You know what? Absent ourselves post haste sounds like if I'm like wasted at a party I don't want to be at. I'd be like, I need to absent myself post haste.
Is that how you speak once you've been drinking? All right, and then on page 66, nothing is even a thing until our thinking makes it so.
What?
That sounds like it came out of like a
thing.
fortune cookie.
He's been smoking
Like
too much
everything
weed.
Leox says can be followed by right. Like,
Yes, all
every
right.
line.
What is spice? Can we talk about this? Spice has been so many different kinds of drugs in Star Wars. Is it?
Yeah.
Is
It's
it
drugs?
Is it
Like, it's
weed?
blanket
Like, what
drugs.
is it? Just blanket drugs. You can snort
a
it. You can
powder.
shoot
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think
If you
whatever.
heat it
whatever
up on
the
a
story-
spoon, I mean, it gets in there faster. We know all the kinds of different things.
There's downfire and stuff now. We know in
Yeah,
this time period.
that's right,
from
Ride
Light
the
of
Storm.
Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah, Spice is
So-
whatever the story needs it to be, and the writer's responsibility is to make it.
You know, it was really
so.
tragic. There was a Spice Lab explosion.
Yeah, dude, that's Elysia.
I know
literally what happened.
it happens. It's ridiculous.
That sounds like the name of like a Spice Girls album. Spice Lab Explosion.
Oh my God.
Explosion.
2022.
So Leox's primary concern is basically to keep the vessel running and its crew together. Did this crew of the vessel overall, did it rank highly with you amongst other found families in Star Wars, like say the Ghost crew?
The vessel. This was another one I had a lot of trouble with, is getting all the characters right in such a short period of time. And honestly, I think it's a little outside the norm, I believe, for Claudia Gray actually to write so many characters introduced so quickly in a young adult novel. She doesn't typically do that. Like usually we get a lot of build up. Like think of Sienna and Thane. Thane and Sienna got a lot of attention early on, right? So, but they name dropped everybody and gave them, like, they all had that. You remember that chapter early on when it introduced the characters and it showed all of their reactions to something that happened on the ship, like right back to back. And I was like, who the hell are these characters? Part of that is because I read it so quickly, but still.
Well, and it was interesting too that I wonder what. Okay, so the thing I mentioned earlier, I'm going to drop it here. In our interview with Claudia Gray, she mentioned on a recording, so I feel good about talking about it, that initially Into the Dark was meant to incorporate this giant event. And that event got pushed to a later project. She didn't tell us what the event was. She didn't tell us what that project was. But pretty decently far into the production of this novel, the entire main climax changed.
That's right. I think she told us in the interview that she had to rewrite a lot of it, or they had to take out a large chunk of it. And I felt like that too in this book. That. Yeah, I did too. I did too.
Yeah, and I wonder in terms of these relationships is if whatever that climax was going to be, if that would have like because Light of the Jedi also incorporates a ton of characters very quickly, but the Great Disaster kind of happens and they branch off and then you kind of retroactively understand them more. I wonder if this giant event would have maybe made that more of a thing. Again, it's all speculation. We know literally nothing other than what she said in that interview. But I think I definitely read like, oh, there were some connective elements from the beginning. I thought that so too. I think he didn't rewrite as much.
It felt like there was a bit of a vacuum in the book while reading it. And like it's subtle. It's not hugely apparent there, but maybe we're biased because we knew that going in. But I guess you had already read it though. So
I already read it. Yeah,
that's true. So maybe it was present. Also, I'm very much appreciating this giant discussion about drugs that's currently happening in our chat right now.
Yeah.
Spice specifically, not real drugs. Doing drugs.
All right. Well, I don't think
wait to see reviews for this episode.
Yeah. I don't think anything could get us back on track more so than discussing the foundation, I think.
Foundation.
The bedrock, if you will, of the plot.
Oh my
itself.
God.
Let's do it. Let's address the boulder in the room, guys. Geo. All right. He's a Vintian from Vint, and he is the navigator of the vessel. Geode. Can we listen? There are a lot of jokes out there regarding Geode. I want to pull up the official picture for what a Vintian looks like on Wikipedia.
Throw up the screen share, Wes. Look at this. Holy crap.
What?
What the hell is this?
Wes, tell the people what you told me when you saw this.
That thing is a Serta Perfect mattress. It is a rock mattress, and that's what Geode's physical appearance is.
It's a bed. It's a bed from the Flintstones. That's what this is.
It was a rock mattress. Rock mattress. Ba-da-ba, rock mattress.
I'm curious though, what was your mental image of Geode in your head? Because my first one was the temple head from Legends of the Hidden Temple, despite the fact that it's just the face, and they said he doesn't have a face. Then I started just hearing Geodude every time that I read Geode, so I was thinking about the Pokemon. What were y'all thinking of?
I can show you. It was this. This is what I saw. Literally, this one, the top right. That's literally what I pictured.
Isn't that like the fake
That's
Rocky
it?
hide your key?
Yes, exactly.
Or like a speaker next to your pool.
Yes, exactly.
100% what Sam's cloak or what Frodo's cloak looks like when he hides Sam and
that
Sam
is it.
in the front of Mordor.
It. That is 100% what I was picturing. Like just sitting in a pilot seat. All right. Real talk, because I said that I didn't know if I was going to bring this up on this show because it's hugely controversial. I was incredibly annoyed by Geode. Hot take of the Living Force. I did not enjoy him as a character. I thought that joke went on and on and on and on, and I was tired of freaking reading about it. I was like, fine. I actually just flipped forward to the end of the book about 3/4 way through and found the Geode like reveal that it's not just an elaborate joke. It's an elaborate ruse. It's not, right? Like I see, it annoyed the shit out of me. I don't know why. It annoyed me, dude. I couldn't handle it. I was not ready.
Wes, you had a feeling.
You're boring and your imagination is crap. How did you not like Geode and all of the funny quips and lines that Affy and Leox were saying about what he was doing?
The only joke
was hilarious. I have them written down. I took screenshots of the pages in the dark and the cold when the eternal winter storm came flowing through Texas, and I have about 6 quotes, and they are all great.
Read the one about the partying on Coruscant. That was the only joke that I really struck with me. I did like that one. That one was good.
So this one is, instead of answering his questions, she said, "Where's Geode? Hitting the clubs. The gods only know what time he'll be back. Someday that guy's gonna have to slow down." I don't know how he does it, Effie said, but the shared joke brought no smile to her face.
Yeah,
in the clubs.
In the club. Here we are. In the club.
What? Talking about a wallflower.
You know what?
To the
Surprisingly,
window! To the wall!
The rock.
he is the wall.
I mean, there was Geode was already giving him the death glare. No point piling on. Like, what other glare or look is this guy gonna give somebody?
All right, party foul. Just spilled my drink everywhere.
So while Corey's doing that, I'm gonna agree with you, Wes. I enjoyed Geode quite a bit. Purely because of the way Claudia Gray was able to like write around him using that stuff, right? Like the little tension breakers here and there were phenomenal. Like when the first previews came out, like a couple months before this release, they released like, a couple chapters in a digital sampler, and it had the Geode intro on it, and it really tickled me. Kind of throughout, I got really happy. By the end of it, I was a little more confused. I was like, wait, what's going on? And then, of course, when he saves Wreath, I'm like, okay, there's something there.
But did he actually? Well, how did he save Wreath though? He just stood there. It didn't tell us anything about him. I was absolutely convinced. I was absolutely convinced that it was all going to be a giant joke. That like it was Leox is on this crazy acid trip and he thinks this rock is real and everyone just plays along. That's really what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't need. So I don't need to see like a ton more of Geode. I'm not gonna be like, oh, where's Geode in this story? Like. Yeah. It's fun. It was a fun gag. Yeah, it was fun and allowed Claudia Gray to flex some muscles. I've literally never seen her like straight up, like just straight slapstick comedy. And I think
she's not done much about that.
That's fun.
The other thing I'll say about Geode is like the whole Fandom Menace crowd was like super anti-Geode. And I don't want to be any way affiliated with those people either. So like, I freely admit, all right, here's another hot take. I don't enjoy The Office.
Me neither. Sorry,
okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't have that sense of humor. I just don't. I don't have that dry sense of humor. It's stupid. I like classic slapstick comedy like The Great Outdoors, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That stuff is funny to me, but The Office is not that funny to me. So
The Great Outdoors.
I love The Great Outdoors.
Such a good movie.
The bear scene in that is so good.
All right, hold on.
Hair off his butt. All right, good.
We're going down a road. Charles, what do you think of Geode? No one ever asked how is Charles. How did you like it?
I loved Geode. He played very well with me. But you know what? I like The Office, so apparently my sense of humor is stupid. But no, I really liked Geode. And let's be clear, I don't know how he did it, but he is a hero. We don't know if he sprouted some legs and walked. We don't know if he floats. We don't know anything about the guy, but I do want my Geode spinoff novel, and I want it in 2022.
He's just standing there menacingly.
Just scrapes across wherever he's going, makes the loudest damn noise, leaves little pieces of dust and rock wherever he's going, but you don't notice it because you're involved with something else.
No, we find out at the end of the Out of the Shadows Justina Ireland book is that Geode is actually a Palpatine.
Oh God. So the last quote that I have is when they have to go back, and they go, "We have to go back to the Amaxine station." Geode was speechless. Period. Like, yes,
that's hilarious.
Geode is like paprika, like a little bit, really just emphasize, but you put too much on, and I'm like, I don't want that. That's overpowering.
Geode
nailed it.
Geode really is like paprika. Wow,
he is.
It's a good reference.
You're welcome.
Well, let's move on from Geode. I wish this could be Geode Power Hour, as our listeners were asking for at the beginning of this stream, but we got to move on from him, and we've got to talk about Orla and Comac. And I kind of want to talk about them together. We can bounce back and forth a little bit, and it's because their stories kind of start in the same place, right? Before ever meeting Reith, when they were Padawans. So just to recap, since I left this out at the beginning, we meet them when they're Padawans on a mission to rescue a couple of nobles that have been kidnapped, and they essentially rush into a trap, and it causes their ship to be shot down. It causes the death of Simics, who was Comac's master, and then they basically travel through these serpent-infested caves with Orla's master, and eventually they do find the criminals that kidnap the nobles. However, they're only able to save one. The other noble is shot and killed by one of the criminals before they're able to stop him. And that experience really colors a lot of how they feel about things in the modern day story, or in the present tense of this story, when they are with Reith in the Amaxine station. And first of all, I want to ask, did that story hold enough weight for you all? Did that
not even a little
I
mission?
was actually going to ask you guys that too. I didn't at all for me. In fact, I was going to ask you, what was the purpose of that? I
think this is it would have tied more into the big
happened.
Event.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think that so this is a really weird critique. I don't think I've ever given of a book before. The literal publishing of the book confused me as to what time period we were in. Because it would go into the flashbacks, and usually it was like a certain italicized or a symbol of page break, but then there were like chapters within the flashback that had the little High Republic symbol between them, and I thought that meant we were going to the present.
That's right. And it didn't even have every single time. I think the first time it had like a I don't know, 25 years earlier or whatever it said, but I don't think it did that after that. So I'm actually with you. It took me I would have to be 3 pages into that before I was like, oh, okay, we're back in the past again.
And they introduced, like we said earlier, they introduced so many characters in that flashback, and they're like 50 pages apart, like a lot of the time, that I'm like, I forgot everyone that was in it. So I think this was a potential casualty of the rewrite.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you could have cut those pages and I wouldn't have lost anything.
That is, of course, we have to admit, that is speculation, right? We don't actually know that any of that
speculation
is anyway related to whatever wasn't written or whatever. And it's hard for us not to get a little meta about that stuff because we talk to the authors and that sort of thing. But let's take it for canon for what it is. I suppose the story is to highlight what's his name?
Comac Vitus.
Comac. I suppose it's
Cognac.
Cognac. I suppose it's to highlight Cognac's struggle with grief and like the Jedi flaw of like not being able to grieve for your master. Which I actually want to talk about that a little bit. I kind of disagree with that. Actually, like I don't really get the feeling that the Jedi force down your throat that you're not supposed to like grieve for your masters and stuff. Like, do you guys? What are your thoughts on that? Was that handled well? That struggle that was highlighted through this book.
I think it was tough because this early in an initiative, we don't really know what the Jedi do yet in this era, and I think that it might be their way of telling us that. But I want to bring up something that Maggie actually said in the chat. She said the stakes for the rest of the novel were much higher, and I wish that the catastrophe of the past was more jarring because I love the themes that it introduces. And I agree. I think that like the theme of grief, the theme of how to grieve properly, the theme of, you can't save everyone. These are very Star Wars-esque things. There's very Jedi-esque things.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels very, very weird that it is less thematic and less character and more execution that I think I had an issue with. Stephanie here says that she loved those past attachments and segments with Orla and Comac. The only criticism is that they were spaced too far apart. And I think
that's a fair
that
criticism.
Is the point. They
were short too, right? I mean, it took forever.
Yeah.
It took the whole book to get through a really short story, I feel like. So
yeah. So put them closer together, or like, yeah, it was incongruous, I felt.
I do think it served a purpose, though.
Yes.
I do enjoy any exploration of sort of Jedi philosophy of like what they can and can't do, and like highlighting the flaws of the sort of order and the ideology that they follow and stuff. I do enjoy those thought-provoking conversations for sure. And I like the idea of you're not really supposed to grieve for your master. I like that can be a struggle. It was a little hard to get to in this book, I feel like. And is the what are they called? Wayseekers? Is that what they called them?
Wayseeker. Yeah, I love that idea.
Is that new? I've never heard that before.
New, as far as I know.
That's the first I've heard. Yeah,
it is new.
Yeah,
and that's we're gonna cover, honestly, for as much as I just asked the leading question and implied that there's not very much weight behind what actually happens. A ton of our overarching questions that we're going to get to about the faults of the Jedi, about this idea of grieving, and about Wayseekers, all these things, they came out of those parts of the book.
Yeah,
so
they did.
there is material there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think. That's why you have to say. That's why I say you just have to accept it for canon and try not to get too worked up about like the writing style structure and things like that, because it's easy for that to rub people wrong, and sometimes is frustrating, which I imagine is pretty challenging as a writer, particularly on these types of projects, because that these Star Wars books, they get chopped up, and then they're like, like, all right, so then you've written this whole like short story about this flashback, and then their editors suggest that they break it up across like a significant part of the book. So like, I imagine that's incredibly challenging to do, just professional perspective a little bit.
Yeah. And I want to also add one thing about Orla and Comac as a whole, because in the modern day, I really enjoyed the two of them. Orla was a fascinating character to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, one, she had like the hinged double-bladed white lightsaber. Always a fan of that. She's in a Baron. Like the design description was really freaking cool for her. And I love the idea of the Wayseeker being an accepted thing in the Jedi, that I am willfully leaving the Jedi essentially on like a sabbatical-esque indefinite.
It was Orla that did that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Orla did it. Yeah, to go listen. Like she's like, I'm gonna go listen to the Force. Kind of.
That was odd.
My own
that was
path.
a little odd to me too.
So
anyway,
let's unpack that some.
Yeah.
Let's kind of move on from what happened in the past. Let's talk about what a Wayseeker is, what this book tells us, because it is new, Corey, to your point.
Okay.
This is not something we've ever seen before, though we may have seen some kind of quasi Wayseekers in the past. But on page 18, this is the actual introduction to Orla, and it reads, Orla Jareni had recently declared herself a Wayseeker, a Jedi who would operate independently of the dictates of the Council. So that's really all we know that it means. The book does go on to tell us that Wayseekers can do anything from meditate on mountaintops to actually become minor singing sensations on Alderaan. They literally said that a Wayseeker did that previously.
Yeah, that's right.
Why didn't Anakin just do that?
Yeah, right? He would have been a great one.
Are these just Jedi that aren't quite Jedi anymore?
Yeah, that's what I get.
The almost lost 20. Is that what Orla is a part of? Like, what is their
They can't afford to put statues for everybody that disagrees with the Jedi Order in the library, so they just created this middle ground. It'd be too expensive. Bronze is pricey. Have you seen the price of bronze lately? It's outrageous.
Don't try it, Anakin. I have the middle ground.
Yeah, Andrew makes a good point. Like the Wayseeker, it seems like they're kind of doing a canonization of Gray Jedi a little bit.
That's how
but I like to think of it. This is a little odd, but
hate the idea.
It kind of read to me like the idea of Rumspringa in the Amish community, where like you leave for a while and like experience the world fully. Like none of the restrictions, just kind of. And if you want to stay there, you totally can. It's like you're not disavowed. It's fine. And I think the Wayseekers are essentially like, I don't know if I believe everything. I think in the strictest sense, Yoda, once he leaves and goes into exile in Dagobah, could possibly be considered a way seeker. Like, I think he leaves the
That's a good
Jedi
point.
tenants to go listen.
seeker way.
Yeah. To go listen fully to the Force to really just figure out if the Jedi are getting in your way. And I think a lot of way seekers, I would assume, eventually come back to the fold with what they've learned, incorporate it into the code, and then grow. I would assume that's the idea.
Maybe, right? Let's say that
Maybe.
way seeker, it sounds like they're following their feelings more than a regular Jedi would, but they're also using the Force, right? And going along the I don't want to say the word, but let's say light black Jedi.
There you go.
Can I say that, Corey? Does that make you not want to throw up? I mean, maybe that it's a foreshadow of what's to come, right? So a lot of Jedi move towards, not a lot of Jedi, but some Jedi move to being way seekers, and they don't come back to the Jedi Order. They go and do something else, and they form something else. They could, eventually move path towards the Sith. Is this when the Sith get reintroduced, or something along those lines? But
that's a good point.
I thought that whole story between Comac and Orla was to put out that the way seeker, about her trying to follow her feelings more than actually the teachings of the Jedi, would have saved more lives, and just to put a point there that she should follow what she was feeling and not the Jedi teachings.
Why did
you nailed it earlier? If sorry, I was just gonna say you said it earlier, and I wanted to come back to it. If that had been open to Anakin, like, hey, go be a way seeker, my dude.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
We'll see. Or Qui-Gon.
Maybe
Qui-Gon would have been a way seeker.
Maybe that's not a thing.
Remake all the movies.
I know.
There you go.
Remake the whole movie.
Yeah, maybe it's not a thing anymore by the time we get to the Clone Wars era. So I don't know, man. Why did Orla become the way seeker and not, Comac? Why? Because it was Comac was the one that had all the grief and issues with the Jedi Order and stuff. Why did Orla become the way seeker? That was an interesting design choice. I felt like.
Maybe we don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, like, he doubled down for a reason. Like, because Charles, was it you that said at the beginning of this, Comac was your favorite character in this book? Who was that?
No, I think Jared said last week that Comac.
Jared was.
Yeah,
it
was Jared.
Slack. It was in your screen. I don't remember. Y'all look the same.
We're all white guys to talk about Star Wars. We're pretty generic, to be honest.
Here's another point I wanted to bring up, because this book made it seem as if the Jedi Council has to allow you to become a way seeker. Like, it described how Orla had to go and say, I want to do this, and they had to be like, yeah, that's cool, go for it. But if way seekers are operating outside of the council, is that not somehow the council admitting that they don't have all the answers? Is that them saying that they don't always make the right decisions? Like,
maybe that's why it's not an option in Clone Wars, because they would never ever do that at that time.
It feels like sabbatical. It feels like honestly
let you be a way seeker.
Yeah, it feels like a professorial sabbatical where they're like, I'm just gonna peace out for like 6 months and go to Greece or something. Which my professor did.
Well,
for real, that happened.
Like, you're still hurt about that.
I'm fine by it. I'm fine. It was my senior year or whatever.
All right.
So, I'm reading through more comments here, and there's a couple other really great things. Maggie says something that was really striking about the flashback was that Orla felt the death of Comac's master was in some ways her fault because she didn't listen to the Force. So I think that's I think we'll come back to that next week about listening to the Force at different levels. I think that's a really good part about this book that they did really well with. And then Cad Ben says she struggled with following her instincts and felt restricted by the Order's rules. So it feels like she was following her instincts to branch out and discover where they could then take her. And I think that's a cool part about this philosophy. Like, this was definitely a book to kind of wrap up tonight, right? About like all these characters we talked about seem to have this common thread of breaking out of where they are now. Like, Reith is a student that wants to go to the frontier. Affy is like kind of stuck in this co-pilot / subservient role, but does she want to take over the guild? Does she want to do other things with her life, learn the truth about her parents? Orla breaking out of the Jedi. Like, this whole book is really about people experiencing new things.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that was really interesting, which again plunges them, quote, into the dark, if you will. So I did like that.
Get out.
Yes, that was such a good one. Good bit.
I will soon. I got to do the outro in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's just wrap up with Comac. Next week we'll pick things up with the villains and then get into the overarching questions. But Comac, I wanted to point out a couple of things about him. On page 37, we get Comac describing what he does, because he was a folklorist, right? And like a mystic and a scholar. That was kind of his role. And he said, there are species who respect outsiders, who push them hard and demand the facts. There are also species who eat outsiders like that. It's best not to pry until you know which kind of culture you're dealing with. While you're waiting, you study their art. Paintings, tapestries, literature, symbolism, and allegory can reveal a lot. Then you ask about the art and the legends come naturally. So Comac is basically Thrawn in the High Republic time period, right?
Yep, thank you.
I had to point that out because I felt like I was reading a Thrawn passage. I really did.
Yeah.
But what's I think more telling is this quote that I think we'll end on from Comac, and it plays really well into all kinds of major Star Wars ideas and themes. It plays into ring theory, even in, if we're getting into the kind of meta stuff that George Lucas talked about with, why he made the prequels the way he did. The quote is this: "It doesn't matter how far we run or in what direction. In the end, we always come back to the beginning." So he's referring to what happened, of course, with Orla, in their mission as Padawans. But do you think this had any type of bearing on the present story in the book? What involved the station and all of those things?
Very possibly. I mean, the
question.
reference that all eras of Star Wars have for the past, whatever that past means, is evident since the beginning. I mean, it's a story about legacy. We talk about that with every author we talk to, which is by definition the past. Like, how will the past be remembered by the future? What lessons will you learn? What things will you take with you? And Reith is a protagonist who is entrenched in the past, in the archives. That is his whole thing.
Yeah.
And Comac, I think, is a really interesting, figure for him to look to, which is why, they get together at the end. Is Comac is all about the past, but the oral history past, like the legends from direct sources. Like he's like the archives a step further.
Yeah.
He's like, I will learn from the people who lived this. I will learn from the tales talked down to people. And when we see ahead of time the fall of the Jedi in the prequel era, they've stopped listening to the past. They've stopped listening to the things that could tell them about the Sith, that could tell them about these things.
Right.
Because they're too focused on the immediate present. So I think one of the reasons that Comac is so interesting is that he is kind of that nice balance for Reith to look up to. Like, I am in the moment, but I am always listening to the voices that came before us so I can learn, so I can evolve. And most importantly, he flies. That is actually the most important thing about him.
He flies, yes.
They fly now.
They fly now?
They fly now.
Stuff. There's no better way to end it. Like I said, we'll pick up next week. We'll talk about Nan. Sweet, innocent old Nan. We'll talk about the Drengir, and then we'll talk about a whole lot of important things like grief and major ideas like that. But for now, I'll kick it back to Eric.
All right. Well, as Charles said, next week is going to be a phenomenal part 2 of this. This is a 2-part roundtable, so we'll be going through the rest of what we got. As a reminder, some people around the world, daylight savings time was observed in the U.S. this week. It was not everywhere. So keep your eye on our YouTube channel for when we're going live. It will be 8 p.m. Eastern. So to make sure that you don't miss our show next week, hit that little bell next to the subscriction. I hate that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell.
Smash
so
that like and subscribe.
We'll be going through that. And of course, thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out tonight and encouraging this conversation. This is the stuff, literally, it's the thing we love doing the most every week. So we will be back next week to finish it up. But on that note, my friends, that will do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you support us on Patreon, thank you so very much. And even if you don't, make sure you check out the Utini Discord, where next week we will be bringing back our Aftermath after show for a celebration. We'll talk all about Into the Dark, or we'll talk about Corey's hatred in movie theaters. Who knows? That'll be next week after coming out for the party. A special thank you goes out To Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi Head Council, and Kyle Hickman, Elizabeth QTA, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C, and Sally, and Chris Eilerson in our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD. Charles is at C. Hankel. And Wes is at Boss Wes. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager. Thank you to Corey, Charles, and Wes for podcasting with me tonight. Thank you to all of you in the chat for hanging out. And as always, may the Force be with you.